Welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm Speaks, Jared and Bob. Game two for us. It's just a normal old Thursday for you. But out of the gate, I want to start with something that I've kind of been sitting on for a little while. It's not really like time sensitive or anything, but we just haven't gotten to it. I saw a little while ago that there was a study that uh, microplastics have been found in human testicles. So just a brief overview, right? I'll try and cliff note it as best as I can. So there was a study. I don't know how long the study lasted, but the scientists tested the testicles of 23 humans as well as 47 dogs. And get ready for this. They found microplastics in every sample. So 23 out of 23 human testicles and 47 out of 47 dogs. There were plastic in there. So the human testicles had been preserved, so their sperm count could not be measured. However, the sperm count in the dog's testicles could be assessed and was lower in samples with higher contamination with PVC. So the study demonstrates a correlation, but further research is needed to prove microplastics cause sperm counts to fall. So I'm assuming, right, this particular article is from The Guardian. This doesn't say the actual study. I could probably look it up, but I'm not going to. I'm assuming that these are in cadavers, right? If they're talking about, testicles were preserved, the human ones. I would assume that's
Pretty
because,
sure it'd be unethical to castrate someone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, well, I mean, the other thing too would be if someone had testicular cancer
And
and
got
they
it
and they
removed.
removed it, yeah, they could look at it. Um, but I'm assuming if it had been preserved, it's probably because the person was dead. So again, we don't have human data on this, but we do have canine data that the higher the concentration of plastic in the testicle, the lower the sperm count. So this is interesting, right? Because plastic is everywhere, evidenced by this 100% sample size. Um, and we know for a fact that sperm counts have been declining in men for decades. So I think it's an interesting correlation. They haven't been able to prove causation yet, um, but they certainly have the smoking gun with the dog population.
Well, the other thing too is I don't think you can do a real study onto like guys just being pussies and lowering sperm count because I've heard that argument too, but you can't prove that shit.
Well, no, but you can measure sperm count. Like that is a thing
Yeah, but you
you can
can't
do.
measure how much of a pussy somebody is.
No, and yeah, those are two different things.
Well, so what I was gonna say was there's going to be multiple reasons, right? This is just one of them, but I mean, in one study, the correlation's pretty strong.
Yeah, and I mean, you could make the argument too, right? From a natural selection perspective, right? Um, People with higher sperm counts would be more likely to be able to reproduce, right? Because that's just how it works, right? It's more chances to fertilize the egg. However, I think with the advent of IVF, um, which is great. Like me personally, my personal opinion on it is I think IVF is great because it allows people that may not be able to have children, right? And I'm not one of them. Obviously, hey, if this is like episode like 570 something, I'm not religious, right? Like I'm not going to sit there and say, well, God intended them to not have children and they're going against God's will. No, listen, man, it's 2024. Like if there's some
Enough of that shit.
yeah, if there's some biological issues with one of you and like or both of you and you need to go IVF to have a kid, all the power to you, right? Like again, I'm not going to thump my Bible and say that you're a heathen for using IVF, right? Like that's ridiculous. But again, from a natural selection perspective, sticking with biology, those people are now able to reproduce with the advent of IVF, where they weren't probably prior to 1970, right? Like I don't know when IVF was invented or when it became mainstream, or more commercially available, I should say. It's still really expensive, but it's a lot more accessible now. Um, so that's probably plays part of it too, right? Because 1,000 years ago, if you had a low sperm count and you couldn't reproduce, your genes didn't get passed on, right? But now, if you have a low sperm count, you can pass on your genes through IVF. So, again, that's how natural selection could come into play. A little bit of the plastic potentially, right? With the invention of plastic in the 50s, and then now everything is plastic, right? And finding microplastic in the testicles of 100% of the test subjects in that study. Um, like it's probably a little bit of a bunch of things, right? That's usually the answer to things, right? It's usually not all one thing. It's usually a bunch of things combined that creates a result. And someone out there may, I doubt any actual biologist listen to this show, but someone may be thinking of another example, right? Because it's not just those two. It's not just plastic and IVF. There's probably six other things, right? At least that contribute to declining sperm count, but it is a real thing, right? Like that is a fact that on average, males today have lower sperm than they did 30 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago. Like that's a fact.
Oh, you know what else it is? People aren't doing enough hard things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard that argument too.
Well, I think sometimes people get conflated with sperm count, meaning
Testosterone.
testosterone.
Yeah.
Those are not the same thing because you can have, albeit artificially inflated, you can have an extremely high testosterone level and an almost zero, if not actually zero, sperm count. Again, by taking exogenous testosterone, right? Like your your testosterone levels will go sky high and your sperm counts will be next to zero. So, they're not the same thing. Are they correlated? Yeah, sure. Probably, right? Um, but in the case again of exogenous testosterone, they're actually inversely correlated. But and it was one of those that I saw and I thought it was super interesting again because it was quite literally 100% of the samples in this study, which is kind of mildly concerning.
Well, it seems mildly concerning because yeah, there are things you can do, but like, dude, you cannot get plastic out of your life. It's not possible.
Yeah, I think you can only minimize your exposure at this point, right? And the thing too, some people might be like, well, who cares if it's in sperm or your testicles or whatever, all this. That's not really the point that I'm trying to get at. That's just this one study that became public. The issue that I have with it is 100% of humans and dogs tested in their testicles had plastic. That means that plastic is in your body, right? It doesn't need to be in a male's testicles. It could be in someone's liver, right? It could be in someone's spleen. It could be a part of someone's ovaries, right? If you're a female, right? Like the
It, but
point
by the way, if it's getting to the testicles, it's probably getting to the liver first.
exactly. Yeah. So it's one of those like where else is plastic in people's bodies, right? Because if it like to your point, if it's in the testicle, it's got to be in some other places too. Most likely the liver.
And maybe some intestines.
Yeah. Yeah, probably, right? So cancer rates are up, not just in the last couple of years. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, the vaccine." Okay, whatever. Like it doesn't have to do with that. Well,
I can't believe people are still saying that shit too.
yeah, but cancer rates are up over the last 3 decades, right? Like there was no stupid fucking shot 3 decades ago. Um, you know,
Crazy too, because cancer rates are up over the last 30 years, and all we've done is try to do things to minimize it. It's not fucking working.
yeah.
Everyone should start smoking again. So here's a question, biology expert. Uh, we know that smoking a cigarette kills the poison in the apple seeds if you were to eat one by accident. Does it also remove the plastic out of your body? Because I'm guessing 30 years ago when everybody smoked and everyone was a lot healthier because cancer was way less. That's what you told me. Uh, and now you're telling me everyone's got plastic in their fucking balls. So cigarettes remove plastic from the body.
Yeah, cigarettes are anti-cancer.
I love that for them. I
Yeah,
think cigarettes are making a comeback too.
I think they are.
So remember we were talking about 1998? It's like Limp Bizkit, cigarettes. They could be on their way. I'm starting to see. So obviously, like at the U.S. Women's Open, like Charlie Ho is just ripping
Yeah,
heaters because
yeah,
I think she was vaping and she's not vaping anymore, so she's just gonna fucking smoke darts. Which don't get me wrong, the idea that a professional athlete is just gonna openly fucking smoke, like, dude, like I'm good with that. So Ryan French summarizes it best, Monday Q Info. He goes, listen, I'm not promoting smoking. I don't think it's like whatever. He goes, I'm just saying from a guy that tells stories, smokers have the best stories. They're the most relatable and they have the best stories. That's all I'm saying. He goes, that's why I pointed out. That's why like I gravitate towards those people. That's it.
yeah.
Because they seem like the most down to earth, relatable, best storytellers.
John Daly.
Ian Finn.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's part of it is because they like, I mean, it's way less now, but like, you used to have to go out on your smoke break and you're just out there.
Yeah,
That's it. Like whatever couple minutes it takes.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so like she's definitely like she's smoking now. I don't know. It seems like smoking's making a little bit of a comeback, despite like again, despite how hard everyone's trying to get rid of it. And I think that's the other thing. I think like hey, speaking of plastics, vaping
yeah,
has to be like we won't know this like forever, but that's got to be a large factor more harmful than smoking. And I've seen some of like the YouTube ads wherever it's like, oh, toxic metals. Bro, I think we're missing the fucking boat here. Like, what are the like again, I've never actually used a vape
yeah.
and I've never used like pods. I've never used any of this shit. But what do they use to make this stuff?
Right.
Plastic. Like
And what are you doing? What
you're
is
heating it
a
up. So
vaporizer? You're
so not
heating
only
it
are you
up, right?
you're heating it up and you're ingesting it,
Right. Right.
which can be done by eating too. So
Right. which is why I think I've talked about it before. I mean, you know this, but that's why I switched to glass Tupperware a few years ago. Because like heating things up in plastic all the time and then eating it, like that plastic is leaching into the food. Heat
No,
plus plastic equals not good.
I would say that's why I can't store all this glass Tupperware in our house. There's not enough space, dude. I used 6, 10, 14, 15. I used like 15 pieces of Tupperware today. I can't store that much glass, but I also don't heat my food up in the container. So it's like, is it ideal? No, but I'm missing out on 90% of the damage.
Yeah,
Because that's the thing. It's like, yeah, there'll be some leaching by like
just
just having
contact.
it.
Yeah, but it's super like
It's when you heat it up.
right, right,
That's the problem.
right. Yeah, plastic does not like heat.
Good source for cancer fires, though.
Yeah, it's great. Make it nice and green and blue and fun colors.
Yeah, it's like the Northern Lights.
Yeah, yeah. Right in your campfire. So yeah, again, just something I thought was kind of interesting. Another thing that I think is interesting is I saw this the other day. I'm gonna try and pull this up quickly from um the Roca News app, but the Texas, yeah, the state of Texas, the Texas, um, the Texas has decided that they are going to create their own stock exchange to take on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, right? So those are two of the world's largest um, stock exchanges that are both based in New York City. Um, the two of them, let me see, the New York Stock Exchange holds $25 trillion, and the NASDAQ has $22 trillion that they manage, respectively. The next closest is Euronext in third place, which operates various European countries, host shares worth 7.2 trillion, right? So it's the New York, it's the NASDAQ, and there's a massive cliff, and then it's the Euro next. So companies on a stock exchange are subject to that exchange's rules and regulations. On Tuesday, it emerged that a group has raised $120 million to create a new exchange in Texas, alleging that the rules on the New York exchanges have become too onerous. And here's the kicker, right? So actually, you know what? Before I get to the kicker, you hear that, right? What do you think the knee-jerk reaction is? They're going
You
to
should name
create
it Texas with a dollar sign from Saturday Night Live Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yes, yes, we should.
My name's French.
But to most people, right? Even let's look at people that are, whether they're Republican or conservative or whatever. What do you think the initial reaction is to a Texas stock exchange?
Probably racist, I assume.
No, from Republicans, conservatives.
Oh, oh yeah, dude, this is outside my realm. I do not know.
Fantastic. Yes, this is what we need. New York sucks. Texas
Right.
Stock Exchange, here we go. This is going to be where the real money's going to go, right? This is what we need. Okay. All right. So just like we've done before where we call out hypocrisy on, dumbass political topics, here you go on this one. Two companies are funding this new stock exchange that has raised $120 million. Remember, the the New York exchange, what did I say? 27 trillion,
Like
25
4
trillion.
trillion.
$25 trillion is what it manages on the exchange. But Texas has $120 million from two companies so far. And they are BlackRock, and Citadel. Two of the
Oh,
world's most powerful financial firms. So if you asked someone that is conservative 6 weeks ago, what do you think about the company BlackRock? Oh, they're pieces of shit, right? Or this isn't necessarily a conservative thing, but if you just ask someone, what do you, in general, what do you think about the company BlackRock? I'll tell you what I think of the company BlackRock. Um, I think it's sketchy. I think they're all pieces of shit, that they are ruining the housing market by purchasing single family
yeah,
homes and then renting them back to
yeah,
people.
we we
We
went
did a
over that.
whole episode on that, right? Citadel is just like BlackRock. I think the former CEO might be in jail. I remember there was an issue. I don't remember specifically what it is. So you know, if only there was a way I could look it up, right? And I'm not gonna. But I think it was like a former CEO of Citadel went to jail or something like that. Like Citadel has been in some hot water in the past. BlackRock is a fucking shady company, but everyone will put their thoughts aside to be like, yeah, Texas Stock Exchange is better than New York because New York equals bad. And it's like, okay, so you guys so quickly will just throw away your thoughts on BlackRock and Citadel just because why? It's not in New York. This new exchange isn't in New York anymore.
So, do you know what they're hoping to gain?
I don't.
Because like that's what I don't understand why these companies want to. I mean, obviously it's earn money, I assume. But like, why do they find the need to have Texas with the dollar sign as opposed to the
The
New York Stock Exchange,
NYSE,
NASDAQ,
right? Yeah,
whatever else? Like, what do they have to gain? Because they're never going to have that power. They're never going to go toe to toe with New York. Like, no chance.
right, right. I think what they're trying to gain, right, would be what to get away from whatever regulations exist on the NYSE, right? So I don't know what those regulations are. I have no idea. But if I was a gambling man, which I happen to be, um, I would potentially gather a guess here that, especially with two companies like BlackRock and Citadel, if they're looking to fund the starting of a stock exchange, whatever regulations they are subject to by being listed on the New York exchange or the NASDAQ, I'm assuming they're in New York. I don't know if they're on the NASDAQ or which one they fall in, but whatever one they're in, they're trying to get away from whatever regulations they're subject to there. So I would guess that, no pun intended, but this Texas exchange might be a little bit more like the Wild West when it comes to regulations.
Yeah, it's tough because I don't understand. Like, I just don't understand stock exchanges well enough
I don't
to.
either. Until I read this article, I didn't know that the NASDAQ was a separate stock exchange.
I didn't either. Is the Dow Jones a separate stock exchange too?
Couldn't tell you. I always thought that it was just the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, and they were both part of the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah, I
And it
thought
was
so
just different
too.
companies because you have the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies, I think, on the Dow Jones or something like that. I don't know. I have no idea.
I think.
Or the top 500 companies
Well,
in,
I
in the
just pulled up. So
country.
the Dow Jones, it's an index. 30 prominent companies listed on stock exchanges in the U.S. Oldest, most commonly followed equity indexes. Uh,
Okay, so the Dow Jones
is an index
is an index of the NYSE.
and Nasdaq. It's on both.
Oh, it's on both. Okay. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah. I
So I would imagine the S&P is also an index that's just the top
that is an
500,
index.
which is the top 500 companies of the country or the world, maybe. I don't know.
Country.
Country.
Yeah.
So, like I said, until I read
I thought the
this,
Nasdaq was like an index.
I did too. I don't
What's the
even know
thing too
what's
is
on
so
the
it's like
Nasdaq.
and then like never mind like so it's like I use Robinhood, I use Fidelity, my financial guys Ameriprise. I'm like, so which one do I use? Does it even matter? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do I invest with Texas with a dollar sign? Because a little guy like me can't possibly lose out in that situation, can I?
Yeah, no way.
Literally impossible.
So yeah, I mean, when I see something like that, most people, right, will focus on, yeah, Texas good, New York bad. I see that and I go, these companies are just trying to get away from regulations. So like that
Yeah, so it's like
probably
what are
means
they running from?
more shady business practice, right? Like again, BlackRock is not known for for being, really supportive of people, right? They give a shit about their bottom line.
Well, wasn't that part of the housing thing? Like someone was going to try to make it illegal for X companies, whatever.
Yeah.
It's probably tied to where they're publicly traded. Or that probably had some, or I mean, again, it can't be
Yeah.
just that. Like BlackRock, if they really want to fucking buy up all the houses, they can find a way.
Right.
Hmm. But I bet you that's a piece of it because there is nothing that can stop a business truly from buying houses. But there's penalties based off of what they belong to, where they're traded, what networks they're in. Like there's penalties that way.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there's probably like a couple things coming down the pipeline that they don't like, so they're probably looking to make their own stock exchange. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of fucking wild.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there should in this. I don't know enough about the stock exchanges. I don't know if there should only be two fucking shows in town. Seems like the system kind of sucks anyway. But like again, what are you gonna have? 40 fucking stock exchanges? How the hell does that work?
Yeah. And are you gonna only have, because the other thing too they're talking about is um a lot of companies are moving their headquarters away from New York and Delaware. Because a lot of companies are incorporated in Delaware, but I think they just changed something as a state where like there was some sort of like, business exemption for taxes or whatever. And like that was just repealed. So now a bunch of businesses are just leaving. When I say, I use air quotes when I say leaving, they were never actually in Delaware, but they're incorporated in Delaware. Um, and now they're all going to Texas. So it's like that's the one thing I saw, right? Is like AT&T headquarters is in Dallas and this new stock exchange is going to be in Dallas and it's going to have this whole thing and they're like trying to pull all the businesses there. But it's like I just I still kind of really don't get it.
Tell you right now, it's only going to benefit those big companies. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know how. It's not going to help the regular person in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
If you don't like the way that big businesses operate, then you're not going to like this. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know what,
Yeah.
but that's what I can tell you.
Here's a fun headline. I'm not going to read the article, but I'm just going to read the headline because why not? It says, "Want to avoid woke stock market rules? List in the new Texas Stock Exchange." So like I said, it's probably going to be
Political
the Wild
or
West.
political power.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably what it actually is.
Yeah. But like what woke rules exist in the stock market? Like I feel
Well,
like the stock market is pretty fucking close to a meritocracy. Like the company is either doing really well or it's not. Like people are buying stock or they're not. So yes, you can artificially inflate, right? And there are some pump and dumps and there it does happen. But I feel like as a general rule, the stock market kind of is a meritocracy.
Yeah,
Right?
man. I
Like
mean, I know
when
some of that
Target was doing their trans bullshit, like their stock plummeted. Right? A bunch of people lost money. Right? Like it's kind of like Bud Light, right? When they did their trans bullshit, like their stock plummeted, like literally plummeted, and they lost billions of dollars.
I wonder if it's an SEC thing. Like an SEC doesn't have jurisdiction over a new stock exchange.
They
Maybe.
won't give them a championship ring.
I don't know because the stock exchange commission should theoretically have control over all stocks,
You would think, yeah.
you would think, but maybe not with a new market. Uh, because you do get some of the bullshit. But this is the thing. This wouldn't BlackRock wouldn't do this because like you know what was happening the other day, which very rudimentary. I don't really know what exactly, but like some user with GameStop was talking it up, talking it up, talking it up, talking it up, and then fucking sold it off. And now like the SEC is gonna like try to go after him. Massachusetts regulatory is gonna go after him. But like hedge funds do that every single fucking day.
Right.
Every single fucking day.
Yeah, it's fine for the hedge
Politicians,
funds, but it's not fine when
yeah,
it's someone
like
else.
if politicians do shady shit trading, it's okay. If hedge
Right.
funds do shady shit trading, it's okay. But when an individual does it, it's a fucking problem. And they might go to
Right.
jail for fucking a long time.
Right.
Like,
Right.
but that's not why BlackRock would start their own stock exchange because they're on the other side. They're not
Right.
on the individual side.
Right.
And they
Exactly.
definitely don't want an individual fucking hit. It's like a sports book. They don't want winners.
Yeah.
Like, they only care about their own interests. So, yeah, no idea on that.
Yeah, I don't either. It's kind of weird. But uh what else we got going on here? Oh, this is a uh this is a fun one that I heard the other day on I think it was the Rogan podcast that I was listening to. Um so Mexico just had its presidential election, and for the first time ever they elected a female. Right? So everyone's like, "Yay, Mexico, like they're fucking woke, they're diverse, they they elected a female for the first time ever. Like, this is great for women. It's such an advancement." Well, one of the things I found out listening to a podcast was during the election cycle, there were 37. That is correct. You heard that. You heard that correct. One more than 36, one less than 38. There were 37 assassinations of political candidates that were running for president.
Coincidence.
37. That's absurd.
So weird. Like I don't know how such a thing would happen.
Yeah. Kind of makes you think that potentially this wasn't a diversity hire, right? This wasn't a diversity election, right? This wasn't the people of Mexico saying, "Oh, yeah, no, we're ready to be led by a woman." Kind of makes you think that this woman may have had the backing of the cartels and the drug lords.
May. So when you first said like, oh, a woman got elected, and it's like, oh wow, great, finally, like Mexico, woke, diversity, whatever. I'm like, elections don't matter in Mexico. That entire country is run by organized crime.
Yep.
Whoever gets elected is fucking chosen.
Yep.
Or am I like way off base here?
No, I think that's pretty spot on.
Like,
So A little background here. The outgoing president um was very right wing and was very anti cartel, was doing everything he could to use military action to counter the cartels and try and crack down on them as much as he could. This new woman, Claudia Scheinbaum, 61-year-old former Mexico City mayor and lifelong leftist, ran a disciplined campaign, capitalizing on her predecessor's popularity before emerging victorious in Sunday's vote, according to an official quick count. Um, but with her victory now in hand, Mexicans will look to see how Scheinbaum, a very different personality from current president, will assert herself. So, or maybe this president wasn't the one that was very anti, though, whichever president was there when Trump was there, because they were buddy buddy and they were talking about cracking down on cartels. Um,
I mean, that's the only way you're going to do it is get the U.S. to help you.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So, did anyone mention the 37 assassinations? Maybe like float that, like, hey, I'm no political expert in the country of Mexico, but I'm almost thinking she's probably not gonna crack down on the cartels, seeing as though from the view from Massachusetts, it sounds like cartel violence is exactly what got her in. And maybe not exactly what got her in, but definitely fucking roll out the red carpet for her.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is CBS News, right? This article that I'm reading from. And they're talking about her actions as a mayor during COVID-19 with when her city of some 9 million people took a different approach from what then President Lopez Obrador. So Lopez Obrador is the outgoing president, espoused at the national level. While the federal government was downplaying the importance of coronavirus testing, Mexico City expanded its testing regimen. Scheinbaum set limits on businesses' hours and capacity when the virus was rapidly spreading, even though Lopez Obrador wanted to avoid any measures that would hurt the economy. And she publicly wore protective masks and urged social distancing while the president was still lunging into crowds. CBS News
Um,
went out of their way to make sure they put that in the article. After
Murder
we
though, the
know now,
murders.
yeah, after
Well, the
we
third,
know now that the mask didn't work and social distancing was made up.
yeah, but you're supposed to still use emotion when talking about the pandemic and anything about it.
Yeah. And
Can't
they're
use
making her
logic.
look like, well, the previous president didn't care about people. He said he only cared about the economy. Imagine that. Someone, a president that cares about the economy, huh? And not wanting to damage the economy. But no, this woman shut down businesses in Mexico City. She was a hero. She saved lives. Yeah, but she fucking tanked the city's economy. Yeah, but she cared about people. Thanks, CBS News. Why don't you go fuck yourself?
Did they speculate on the assassinations or no?
They did not.
Just the pandemic.
Yep, they
So
did
weird.
not. Let me see really quick. Actually, there is not one mention.
Well, you can't because I mean, well, I guess it's not a Mexican outlet. I was gonna say, yeah, in the U.S. you can, but I was gonna say locally you can't say shit because you just get killed. Obviously,
Yeah,
it's a lot of political opponents though. Holy shit.
yeah. Yahoo News, though, shout out to them. Um, the title of this article: Mexico elects first female president following deadliest election campaign in country's modern history. Here's what to know.
I love that. That's good.
Claudia Scheinbaum was elected the country's first female president after a bloody election campaign that saw 37 candidates assassinated.
Oh my God, it's so many. Dude, that is so many candidates and so many assassinations.
Yeah. Yep. More than 3 dozen candidates were assassinated. That's insane.
Wild, dude.
Yeah. So, oh, this is a good one. Again, from the Yahoo News article. What has happened to the murdered candidates? It's just like a subtitle, subsection, whatever.
They're
Um,
dead.
yeah. Jorge Huerta Cabrera, candidate running for council seat in the town of whatever, was shot and killed at a political rally on Friday. Wednesday, mayoral candidate was gunned down. Um, Altogether, 37 candidates have been assassinated this election season, and that's not counting failed assassination attempts. Uh, from a Reuters report, Integralia counted 828 non-lethal attacks on political candidates during the current election campaign.
That is so many, dude. That is a shitload. Oh my God.
828 non-lethal attacks. So
That's
this
so
was a
many.
Rogan podcast that I heard because after they talked about this, Rogan was like, "We live next to a crack house. Like Mexico is a crack house. They're just killing people that are running for office." And then
They
like
hired a woman. Hired.
yeah, yeah, they elected a woman because they killed 37 other people. And there were 828. There's almost 1,000 non-lethal attacks. He was like, "Yeah, we live next to a crack house." It's fucking
Hell of a
insane.
place. Hell of
Yeah.
a place.
You can walk there, literally, because people walk the opposite direction all the time right now.
No, they shut the border, didn't they?
Yeah. 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 We closed. No, 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 no. We closed. Yeah. Okay. Fucking 4 years later, too. So that was pretty good. That was up there with Fauci being on trial this past week. He's a fucking dick face. He was up there like, just saying dumb bullshit, being like people are just going after him. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene shredded him. She was like, "You belong in jail." It's just kind of just insane, right? Like people are like, "Well, you said this, and now we know this isn't true." And he was like, "Well, I never actually said that. What I meant was this." They're like, "Nope, this is what you said." Like they played a clip of him, an audio recording of him from a book, like an audio book. He recorded a section of an audio book. And in it, he said something along the lines of, if you make people's lives more difficult, then they are more likely to comply with what you want them to do and step away from their ideological bullshit. And I think it was Jim Jordan. I don't know what state he's from, but I think he's a senator. Um, and he said, he was like, "Oh, so Dr. Fauci, now knowing what we know, do you think someone questioning the efficacy of a brand new medical procedure is ideological bullshit?" And he was like, "Well, no, that's not really what I meant when I said that." And he goes, "Really? Because that's exactly what we just played." He was like, "You did mean it." Like he just got absolutely fucking shredded. Um, the unfortunate thing about it though is nothing's going to come from it,
Yeah, you could have told you that.
right? Like he's not actually going to go to jail.
No. No
This
one's
is
going to
just
jail.
this
No
is just
one's going to
this is just
jail.
grandstanding.
No one is going to jail. And that's the thing. It's like you can't go back. Like everything we went through, can't go back. Can't
Right.
fix it. Can't change it. He's not going to jail. He was a hero for all those years, made all his money, like whatever. Like He'll probably be living down in fucking Florida, like laughing as he counts his money.
Yeah.
And that's the end. Ain't nobody, no one's going to jail.
The other thing they questioned him on was apparently when through this whole, search thing that they were doing, whatever they're doing, they discovered that there was like over $700 million that was paid to the NIH for like random things from the actual pharmaceutical industry. So like these companies were paying the organization over $700 million in total to like, whatever, lift regulations or yeah, that drug passed or, whatever things like that. And they go, "Did you receive any money of that over the years of the
No, not
700
me.
million?" And he goes, "No, I never saw a dime." He sat there with a straight face. He goes, "No, I never saw a dime." And they were like, "Are you sure you never received any money?" And he goes, "Well, I think I made $122 from a patent that I own." And they were like, "That's it, huh? That's it. You never saw a dime of any of that money." And then miraculously during that time, his net worth increased to like $11 million, or it went up 11. It either went to 11 or went up $11 million.
These amps go to 11.
Yes.
Um, he made a mockery of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wearing a tuxedo to a fucking janitor job. Like,
Yeah.
all he did.
But all the people like watched the clips, and rightfully so. He did get shredded, right? Like they did rip him up and down, and they caught him in all kinds of lies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he still is making a mockery of it because nothing is going to come from it.
So effectively, what they did was not like the gotcha that you think. It was just a roast. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Especially if, hey, we made some good points, shredded them up, rip them down, blah blah blah. I mean, if he doesn't go to jail and doesn't get fined like a real amount,
Right.
then it was just a roast. That's all it was.
Especially because the people on the left, right, are not going to change their opinion on him. They still think that he's a fucking god. He's a savior, right?
Or
Oh, thank
they
God
won't
for Fauci.
publicly change their stance. Now,
Right.
they may all know and think he's a cocksucker, but they won't say anything publicly.
Right. Right. So just a big waste of time and our money because they obviously use taxpayer dollars to fund this whatever judiciary hearing or whatever the fuck it is, right? So pretty sick. That being said, you want to wrap this bitch up?
We can wrap this up. I know we talked about Mexico. Um, I have a screenshot regarding that. All right. You have to leave the US. You have to.
Okay.
Mexico or Canada? Which one?
Oh Christ. In general or like right now, like the way things are with everything?
Well, you have to leave the US. So whichever one you go into, like not only are you choosing it for now, but you're also choosing it for now and the future.
I don't know, dude. I'll probably take my chances with Mexico. It's better weather.
Well, so it's like, okay, a couple things, right? So the weather's definitely better. So this thing that I screenshotted was like tequila over maple syrup. Now I don't agree. I don't like tequila, but cerveza, sea poppy. Uh, it was soccer over hockey. I don't agree with that one either, but I believe they have the internet in Mexico, so I can figure that part out. Hot over cold, Spanish over French.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like if you think about Canada, okay, so yeah, they speak English, but they also speak French. Uh, the weather sucks. Neither place is overly good politically for very different reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, one's warm, one has like places that you would want to go to, right? Like whether it's by the coast or the mountains or whatever. Like Canada, dude, it's like it's all just snow and moose. Like that's all that shit
Yeah,
is.
people don't vacation to Canada, right? Like people go to Cancun and Playa del Carmen and whatever that hot spot was where people were going for a while that wasn't Cancun, but it was some other random spot in Mexico. I can't
Cabo?
remember. The well, Cabo, but then there was another one. It was like really popular like 2 years ago. I think Bill and Lauren went there after their
Oh,
wedding. Um, yeah, it was like
Manitoba,
an
they've got golf.
yeah, it was like an up and coming spot. Like people vacation to Mexico. No one
Right.
vacations to Canada.
No, you take a trip to Montreal or Toronto sometimes.
Yeah. Or like you go to Banff.
Yeah, and like some of the outdoor shit, like dude, I like out west looks pretty cool. I ain't going to fucking Vancouver, dude. Like I'm just
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Like British Columbia, no thank you. I barely want to go to the west coast of my own country, let alone your fucking country. So yeah, I think I'm going Mexico as well. Um, I don't I don't see Canada having very many redeeming qualities to it.
No.
Is
Nope.
Mexico dangerous? Sure, but that guy fucking running Canada right now is a fucking lunatic too. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd rather deal with cartels. They're more predictable. Right? They're easier
true,
to
they
deal
really
with.
are. Like
It's pretty simple. Like
fucking way more violent, but like,
just stay out of their
dude,
way.
you
Right? Like
know the
all you have
playbook
to
with
do
them.
is just stay out of their way and don't piss them off. And you're all set. You
Yeah,
just
I
go and
mean,
live your life.
there's pretty much a playbook there. Plus, the cartels aren't going to be in like, they're going to be in the cities.
Yeah.
Don't go to the city.
Right. Right. And some of the cartels, I know we talked in the past about like there's kind of a changing of the guard of like the guys that just kind of go around and just kill for fun. But most of the cartels are like that classic, like, no, 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 like I'm doing this to like help the city, right? Like they get the money and then they pay for like a new sidewalk or something. You know what I mean? Like they don't just run around shooting grandmas for fun.
No, actually, pretty much just kind of keep it to like political opponents, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So as long as you're not a cop or politically
I think if you
against
don't
them,
get involved, I don't think if you don't get involved in the politics of, I don't think the cartel gives a flying fuck about you.
yeah, that's what I mean. Just stay out of their way. I can do that. I can keep to myself pretty good.
Me too.
So, all right. Let's see. What is my final thought? So we watched Oppenheimer last weekend and dude is pretty fucking good. So yeah, it's 3 hours long. Um, but Christopher Nolan fucking did it again. Dude, like it doesn't matter. He's just fantastic. So it's one of those movies that, yeah, I know it's 3 hours, but you almost kind of have to watch it twice if you're not super familiar with the story. Because in a classic, this is it's almost like it's not really a gripe, but like my one thing with Christopher Nolan, you could twist this and like make my final thought into something totally different is like, is Christopher Nolan just a dick? Right. But um in classic Nolan fashion, like he has to have something that's like anachronistic, right? Like the timeline doesn't work and whatever. So if you aren't super familiar with the story, you don't know that the first half of the movie is kind of jumping around between flashbacks and flash forwards and stuff. There are some scenes that like they change so it's like in black and white. So like obviously you know it's different. You know the time is different, but not all of it that's not the same timeline is in black and white. It's just like one very specific plot point follows the whole movie in black and white, but the other points like jump back and forth. So it's like, oh, did we just flash back? Like, what are we doing here? Right? Like that type of stuff. Um, Again, classic Christopher Nolan. Um, he might be a dick. He might just do that on purpose, just to fuck with people. Um, but it was a great movie. I mean, everyone in it is fantastic. Cillian Murphy is unreal. Robert Downey Jr. was pretty good. Matt Damon is in it. Matt Damon. He's great. Like everyone in it is just great. Emily Blunt. She doesn't have a huge role in it, but um she's good when she's in it. So yeah. And we didn't watch it in one sitting. We watched, maybe we watched the first 2 hours and then we finished the next hour the next morning. Um, but it's a really, really, really good fucking movie. So I would recommend it. It was free on Peacock. I don't know if it still is, but shout out to Nolan again. You son of a bitch, you did it. Uh, all right. Well, that's gonna do it. So thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe up above. Hit the thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you're an audio only guy. You can get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. Twitter is sarcasm underscore. Whoa, geez, am I stroking? Sarcasm underscore speaks. Facebook is Sarcasm Speaks. The website is sarcasmspeaks.com. Check out the show notes below. Get all of your links and promo codes and discounts for some cool stuff down there. And that's it. So until next time, good night, everybody.